Ooh, welcome one, welcome all to episode 266 of the Xbox Expansion Pass, recorded on Saturday, March 8th, 2025. I'm your host, Luke Lohr, the InsipidGhost, joined by my co-host, the intrepid Captain Logun. Today, we are joined by the incredible Colt Eastwood here to discuss the return of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Captain Logan has previewed Atomfall and Expedition 33, and we've got some Starfield news for you. As always, we hope you enjoy the show. Logan, we like to start the show by offering words of kindness. Those have made our gaming weeks better. But first, how are you, my friend?
It's been an interesting week. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the review that we're going to be doing for. Can we say it? Are we allowed to say that? I'm pretty sure we're allowed to say
it.
I
said it on social.
Post it. Okay. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to diving into Assassin's Creed Shadows. Got two previews out this week for Claire Obscura Expedition 33 and Atomfall, which was really awesome to be able to get those experiences. So it's been a good week in a week that personally was a very down week. So it's always weird when you have like those really high highs, but they're also paired with really low lows, and you're just like, oh God, why can't it be all sunshine?
Life kicks ass sometimes, and life kicks your ass sometimes. That's just kind of how it goes, man.
Yeah. So Colt, how about you?
I'm good. I'm glad Colt's with us. That made my day. Because Colt took the yes on short notice, which I am appreciative of. Colt, how are you, man?
Good. Good to be here. And yeah, interesting time right now. Like, we're packed full of games, and there's lots to play. News has been kind of quiet, but we're busy playing, which is a good thing.
It is indeed. It's been a strange week, I think, top to bottom. We had multiple games go up for preview, like their embargoes lifted. We got news of Tony Hawk making his return. Starfield hit the news a little bit, but also like we kind of finished out that like Avowed and Monster Hunter review, South of Midnight. Yeah, all that stuff's kind of there. So we're kind of in this weird mini lull before the next wave. So it's kind of interesting. Colt, we often do words of kindness. People have made our gaming weeks better. Anybody you want to shout out that's made things good for you?
Sure. Yeah. Jay Fonzarelli, a friend. I've been friends with him for like 7+ years, and we tend to argue. We have differences of opinion when it comes to gaming, but we've been talking about just some of the games we're looking forward to lately, and he's been a good inspiration for me to keep things in perspective, and all the best to him. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's good. Wasn't he Too Many Games? Was that him?
Yep, he was. Yep.
I'll let the audience know my favorite Jay Fonzarelli meme, as it were, was in the middle of the Xbox Showcase 2024. We were just getting game after game after game, and he just yelled out, "Too many games!" And that moment is in my memory permanently. But then also, like, it showed up in any number of media people publishing that he shouted that out mid one. It was a good time. So yeah, that was fun. Well, gents, pretty big week, I think, all things considered, given that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 remaster officially announced. I feel like we kind of knew about this one happening, but we got news that it is coming out on July 11th and is said to faithfully remake the two games in that series. The last time we saw Tony Hawk was 1 and 2. What was it, back in 2020, 2021, something like that?
My memory was 2019 or 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
It was right before we got wind of the acquisition, which I believe, was that like 2021? So I think it was 2020, because it was right around the time, right after they put that out. Toys for Bob got like absolved into the World of Warcraft machine. And then that was kind of like at that point, because I think that's when, I want to say it was like around COVID.
It feels like it was in there. I'll say I like the news for this one for a couple reasons. I know there's some controversy surrounding it, but for anyone that's unaware, like I said, July 11th, there is a deluxe edition for around $70. And in that, you get two different Doom characters with their own tricks and such. I know that's the one I'm going to get because I love Doom. So that's kind of cool. I love Tony Hawk, but I didn't like play it past Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Like I loved it on Dreamcast and the systems around then. I'm curious though, Logan, for you, do you have a history with Tony Hawk? Is this a big deal for you?
Yeah, dude, I love the Tony Hawk games. That the trying to get skate, trying to do as many tricks as you can, trying to learning your first like grind extension to keep your score going and stuff. It's just it's one of those games that and like you, I predominantly played a lot of it on my Dreamcast. It was great there, and I was just always enamored by Tony Hawk. I never played beyond 3 because I didn't know that 4 had a campaign mode. Because I think after 3, I moved on to something else. It was probably World of Warcraft, to be perfectly honest. Probably when I dropped console gaming for PC gaming for a while. But
you both. You lost the World of Warcraft.
Yep. Yeah, it was really fun, man. There was a lot of really good skate games, and I kind of remember that golden age of like X Games with like pro skating and pro rollerblading and stuff back in the day, and everyone like seeing how good people could do on half pipes and stuff. It was a big cultural phenomenon back then. So to have like really good skater games back then was just kind of like surprising, and the fact that it was like Tony Hawk, it's like most people go get like the Madden and the NFL and the NCAA like
right,
football games. I don't know sports, so forgive me. But that's when I don't know, man. But they usually have like the cover of whoever like the most important athlete is during that year. And for me, it was always like, okay, well, this is Tony Hawk. This is where I feel represented. So I was like, this is where I'm happy to see like, okay, this is cool. I really appreciate this. So Tony Hawk having 3 and 4 come out, it's nice. It's kind of weird that it feels like they aren't doing like true one-to-one remakes. But I wonder if that's because there's stuff going on behind the scenes, and a lot of people had asked for this. A lot of people had like were wondering like when we were going to get 3 and 4 remake after 1 and 2. Like it just felt kind of natural, as given how good 1 and 2 was. So for a while it was just like, well, I don't think we're ever going to, because Toys for Bob's not a thing anymore. And now that Toys for Bob is a thing, there was like, maybe that's the project that is they're working on with Xbox. And I actually don't know who's doing the remake for this, so I was actually kind of curious if we were going to find out.
Will you look that one up while I read this and get Cole's take on something? There's some controversy here, Colt, given that Pro Skater 4 is not going to have that campaign that Logan was referencing. It had like an open world campaign where you could go to NPCs and get different missions and such. But this one is going to stick to like the two minute or so like mission based elements to it. So it's not a full 1-to-1 remake. Kotaku confirmed this with Activision. It's not going to have the original career mode seen in the OG version of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 that was on the PS2. Instead, it'll be like the first 3 games. Each Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 level will feature a list of challenges to complete in a 2-minute run, end quote. Colt, when you see a remaster like this and you see that they're tweaking it, adjusting it, changing it, any strong feelings in that one way or another?
No, I mean, I just recently heard that the conventional campaign wasn't going to be in the game, and 3 and 4 I didn't play those. I played 1 and 2. So I don't know what I'm missing, but someone told me yesterday that the campaign in 3 and 4 was really amazing and what made it such a great game. So I don't know why they would strip that out and just kind of put the parks in, but I mean, they're fully remaking it. So it's not really a remaster. But if they're pulling out the campaign, I don't know why they're doing that. But if you're thinking they're trying to garner some excitement to bring Tony Hawk back and make a Tony Hawk 9 or whatever it be, they've tried that for the past 10 years and it's never gone anywhere. So I don't expect Tony Hawk to have legs as far as a new franchise moving forward. But I think it's really good that Xbox especially is remastering or remaking like really old legacy games, when like the competition will typically remaster a game we played on our last console we probably still have sitting in our gaming room. So I don't know, I'm just glad that people are interested in Tony Hawk again.
Same
that way. Yeah,
same. Lucius Augustus, I'm saving your question. I like it, man. I'm gonna hold that one, but also it's good to see you, my friend. I have I'm of two minds about it as far as them, yes, remaking the campaign, not remaking it, that kind of thing. Because my understanding is the original campaign in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 kind of set the stage for the next generation of Tony Hawk games. And that is a big deal because those skate games are so popular. There are so many cool things they could do. But I grew up in Tony Hawk's 1 and 2, where those missions were the way to go. Get the timer, play the music, do your tricks, have a good time with it that way. I'm wondering if maybe they didn't have data from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 and that remake, and wonder if maybe that was what informed them that they did or didn't need certain things. I don't know. But I'm trying to figure out why they would choose to strip it other than resources, other than saving costs or saving time. One of those two elements there. Logan, what did you find out, my friend?
Oh, so Iron Galaxy is doing it. Killer Instinct devs. And also shout out to SJ in chat who corrected me. I thought it was Toys for Bob. It was actually Vicarious Visions that was absorbed into Blizzard when they were like, or absorbed into Blizzard when they finished up with that game. And that was kind of like they're gonna go. No, I remember I think they actually went to go work on Diablo 4, if I recall. They were working on helping support that. But yeah, that was a good shout out in chat for that. That's why I like doing it live. But yeah, that was kind of a real bummer to find out about that. But yeah, Iron Galaxy, Killer Instinct devs were working on this. As far as I know, this is not currently in Game Pass, which is kind of a bummer because I think on the back of this kind of announcement, it would have been good for them to add that. It does look like it is on sale.
It's not going into game. I thought I heard it was going into Game Pass at launch.
Not 3 and 4. Are you talking about 1 and 2? 1 and 2 is not in Game Pass?
Oh, 1 and 2 at the moment. It doesn't look like 1 and 2 is in Game Pass, which is a bummer because I think if it was, people would be excited and they'd jump in, actually, like, start playing 1 and 2 again. But I could be wrong, but it does look like it might actually be on sale.
Okay.
So.
It does bring up a strange thing, and I see Gentle Stone in chat talking about 1 and 2 coming to Game Pass. When are they going to be play anywhere? And then also Lucius Augustus, a great community member. I see him in Asante's show all the time. I see him in a lot of the chats. Is putting Activision Blizzard games on Game Pass not a priority for Microsoft. It feels weird that we don't even have 10% of ABK games on Game Pass yet. I think that's a good and fair call out at this point, right? Like at this point in the messaging and the way that Xbox has been going about, because in the most recent Xbox showcase and then the Phil Spencer interviews, he said we want to be clear where our games are going, what platforms they can be purchased on, and how you can play it. We know that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 is a day one into Game Pass title. Where is Tony Hawk's 1 and 2? That is a fair question to ask. Colt, when you think about the ABK catalog and how slow it is in arriving to Game Pass, why do you think that is? Do you think we're going to see that pick up in 2025?
No, I don't. I complained about this on Twitter, and then I brought it up in my video yesterday that it's been 500 days, and they never promised that they were going to put a bunch of games into Game Pass from the ABK's catalog, but they certainly did by putting Xbox first-party games and Bethesda. They dropped 20 Bethesda games right after the closure of Bethesda, the closure of that deal. So everyone just assumed that they would start throwing ABK games in, and I think Xbox has taken a totally different approach where they feel like it would be better not to inundate us with a bunch of older games. I think it's the wrong decision. They owe their fans a ton of games who have subscribed to Game Pass for 8 years and have been mostly drip fed decent content over the past, at least the first 4+ years of Game Pass. Was like Crackdown,
State of Decay,
Halo Wars, State of Decay, Sea of Thieves, right? So now that they have this great first party catalog, the other issue is Xbox is not running out and putting a bunch of games into Game Pass because most of the ABK back catalog is restricted by licensing. You've got some Marvel IP stuff like Spider-Man, Wolverine, Deadpool. They've got a bunch of games that have licensed music in them that they can't just bring over. People would love to see a game like Blur and do a bunch of back and pat that they haven't worked on, and the back and pat team's not worried about that right now. So they have a bunch of hurdles, but they're definitely not doing what they could. There are 15 plus Call of Duty games right now that are available to purchase, play, everything on console and PC. And they are not putting those in because they probably feel like, oh, it would segment or fracture the user base. I'm like, I don't care. You bought these studios. You have Game Pass. Game Pass is supposed to be the place to play Xbox first party. I don't like the drip feed approach, and I don't want to hear the excuses for it. I think Xbox should be more forward facing about how many games they can bring in there and be bringing. I think they should at least bring. They should bring 1 or 2 Call of Duty legacy games into Game Pass by now, at least every year or every once in a while.
Yeah.
There's no reason why Black Ops 1 and then put in Black Ops 2 6 months later, and then 6 months at World at War and all this stuff. And there's a couple of Call of Duty campaigns I've never played, like World at War, World at War. I don't know. There's like 3 that I haven't played, and I would have liked to grab them in Game Pass and play them. I could buy them, but I kind of feel it's going to sound entitled, but I kind of feel like we're owed those games because these are Xbox first party titles. There's even some legacy Xbox first party titles that still haven't come to Game Pass and won't go in there. And I think they could do a lot better with that.
I tend to agree. I think I give Xbox a lot of credit for finally getting like just this massive slew of games on the way. We started that cadence. I mean, just fresh off of Avowed and Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. Love the cadence that we're now getting with a lot of these titles. But for the people that have stuck with Game Pass for so long, I do think in terms of first party, or what is now first party, you make a very good point. We are, I think, entitled may not be the right word, but I think it is deserving to see a lot of those older titles come through. For sure. Logan did some research for us, sleuthing. He said that Tony Hawk's 1 and 2 is on sale for $20 and it's the cross-gen version. That's awesome, but a Game Pass subscriber should just have that.
I agree. I agree.
They should just have that. So I guess the question becomes, do we see that stuff arrive this year? Will 1 and 2 make its way to get us ready? You said no for a lot of that. I'm just surprised it's not happening. Logan, what is your take on it?
Dude, it's frustrating. When Bethesda got acquired, all of those games started to get dropped and pushed into it within like the first 2 months, and then stuff started to keep coming afterwards. Seeing that they are not bringing even just like the Call of Duty campaigns to the Game Pass, I feel like is a huge miss. I think it's a real, at the very least, they could have easily have thrown in Cold War to prop up Black Ops 6 with people that wanted to get familiar with the story. I know not many people really cared for Vanguard, but Vanguard was a very unique kind of campaign, just based on like how they changed up some of the kind of World War II aspect or the World War I aspect of their like typical like campaign stories. So I think, yeah, there's tons of stuff that needs to get addressed. Simple things that, why do we have all of the characters in League of Legends available to us through Game Pass, through PC? We have access to all the characters in Valorant on there. Like we've got a buddy deal with Riot for some reason, but Heroes of the Storm, which has been ramping up their patches. It used to be that there weren't any patches for Heroes of the Storm. It was a dead game. They just kept the servers on. Now they were doing like one patch every 3 months. Now they're doing one patch every 2 months. Now they're up to every 6 weeks, and we're actually getting balance changes. So there's actually a team like working on that game. All those characters not in Game Pass, like very easily. Same MOBA basis as League of Legends, very popular MOBA, and it's owned by Activision Blizzard. They could very easily just have those available. Same thing with Overwatch. You could have people getting more than just the Game Pass perks for the occasional tier skips in the Overwatch 2 Battle Pass. Lord knows that game needs a lot of help right now. So there's so much that they could be doing with even just like the legacy Blizzard titles. You've got the Blizzard, what did they call it? It was like the Rock and Roll Classic something, where they've got like the Lost Vikings, they've got Blackthorn, the racing game that they put out forever ago. Like there's a
I have
Blizzard
no clue what
classic.
you're talking about. They're
It's
like old stuff, like retro
Yeah.
replay.
Like there's
Rare
like
replay?
they have like classic games that they made before they started off with like Warcraft and Warcraft 2 and Diablo 2 that they could easily just throw that into Game Pass and make that available, but it's not. And it's strange because they have a large legacy of not currently in Game Pass that is technically considered first party. And to be perfectly honest, I think would help reinforce a lot of people wanting to use Game Pass as like their main go-to for their storefront for PC gaming, because a lot of people are kind of on BattleNet, and we're seeing we're seeing more Xbox content get pushed to BattleNet as a PC launcher than Blizzard games coming to the Xbox Game Pass. And to me, that seems flipping wild. That's like why are like I love my BattleNet storefront, but the Xbox Game Pass app on PC should be like your main way to access all that. Every time I click the Xbox app, it boots up BattleNet, and that's like the main way that BattleNet gets launched on my computer. And it's like it's going so backwards right now compared to what they did with Bethesda. I just want to understand the intent behind it. Like why is it being treated so differently than the way the Bethesda was? Is it because there was so much controversy and scrutiny over this deal, and that they're trying not to like flood the Xbox Game Pass market with so many titles that honestly people can still buy a lot of these games? So I don't understand. It just doesn't make sense.
And they're not really buying them. Like when I was talking about the older Call of Duty games or the older legacy ABK games that are available but not in Game Pass, they're not. There's no sales growth of those because Xbox now owns them. They're completely dead sales wise, and you can drop them into Game Pass and elevate the level of variety or quality that is available to people who subscribe to Game Pass. And I think right now their first party brand new games, it tells the tale that Game Pass is a really great service because they finally have like a ton of steady consecutive games coming out. But there are lulls when they don't have games, which this would have been way better during 2023 and 2024, especially 2024, when all they had was Hellblade until the very end of the year when they got out Stalker and Indie and stuff like that. They're so reactive and not proactive. It's one of the most frustrating things that Xbox does, where they're wondering, what are we going to do? Oh, we don't have any games. We'll just make people write it out. Well, you've been making us write it out for 10 years. And during 2022, when you had absolutely no games, and most of 2024, you could have bolstered that up by, hey, we're letting our fans down. They're subscribed to Game Pass. They're paying $15 to $21 every single month. Let's start throwing in some games and make this worth their money and to keep them subscribed. And I often, it's so ridiculous you're asking me about my week, but I often like compare what's going on with Xbox when I'm running my small YouTube channel. I'm like, what do I do when things are down? When growth is slow, you got to put out something, you got to do something really, you got to really make something amazing, try and make a really exciting video, or you get out there and actually do something. You can't sit around and go, oh man, I hope the numbers go back up. And I feel like Xbox does that a lot. They're like, oh, I hope, it'll be fine. Numbers will go up at the end of the year when we put out Indiana Jones. Like, no, you have a monthly subscription and you're in a arms race as one of the biggest publishers in the world to provide and keep your customers paying money and doing all this thing. And they just sit and wait. And I think they need to be more proactive. And even those games, grabbing some legacy title games probably would have helped. But I don't know. What do I know? That's just how I feel when I look at it.
I'm right with you on that. Keep that energy for a minute here, Colt, because I'm going to come back to you. Addy Zero dropping in that he's been a member for 7 months, saying salute to all. Addy, it's so good to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. And then we have Game Positive with a $13.99 Canadian dollar super chat. I think that's $10. Thank you so much, my friend. He says, thank you for all you do, XEP. Lunch on me at SGF. Thank you, my friend, and thank you for supporting us getting to SGF as we are on the road to LA. Yeah, man, we put out a lot of content this week, and I'm really proud of XEP. And kind of like Colt was saying, like when numbers are down or when you got to get somewhere, get a project done. Like you got to put out something great. And I'm very much in the same vein as you. Logan, hearing Colt talk about that, hearing him say those things, are you of a similar like mindset as far as
Oh hell yeah, dude, I'm bought into Game Pass for years, and every time like I see a deal on like CD keys or something, I usually drop in and buy like another 6 months or another 9 months worth of Game Pass, because it's like legit, like it and Amazon Prime are like the two best deals in gaming. Like the games I get from my Prime Gaming and the games that I get access to through Game Pass are the best deal. But there is most definitely a cost investment with this. And yeah, I'm buying at a cheaper cost, but somebody had to pay full price for those codes at some point. So Microsoft is making their money. At this point, I'm just trying to find out like, okay, every time they hike the price, that cost comes to me. So what's the return in investment? Is it purely just because of inflation, or am I going to get an expected increase in my library? Are titles going to not fall out after the 1 year mark or the 6 month mark? You know, what kind of deals are you making? What was it, like 2 or 3 years ago? We were talking about how there were certain games that like Capcom, we would never get on Game Pass because Capcom knows they make money on like the Resident Evils and stuff. So we get the Exo Primals instead. And it's like, if they're going to keep raising the price of Game Pass and they have this back catalog that they could be dumping into Game Pass for me to be able to check out, I understand there's already too many games. I get that, but that doesn't change the fact that somewhere someone is yearning for those games in back catalog to be added to the collection, and they should. They are first party. It doesn't make sense. So I would love to have that question posed to like Phil Spencer or Sarah Bond about why some of these titles have taken so long to get over to Game Pass, or if they're even going to do it at all. Because at this point, who knows? They may show up on PS Plus before they show up in Game Pass.
Right alongside Dragon Age. Let's see. Lucius Augustus said that 2022 was a terrible year for them. Their console sales dropped off a cliff because of that year. Agree. And then a logical question: why are the Transformer games not on Game Pass when Hasbro has literally been begging for a deal on social media? That's a good point. I didn't realize they were out there begging for it, but like, those are great games. Put them in there. Get some attention to it.
Well, a couple of them are coming back. I don't know what's taking so long, but they're in the store. They're installable. It's not playable.
Is that kind of like the Ultimate Alliance and a few of the other Marvel ones that are kind of like there if you'd bought them at one point? Deadpool, I think, did that. Is that what you mean?
It's different. Transformers Fall of Cybertron and Transformers The Dark Spark, the best one, War for Cybertron, the first one, is not available, but you can download and install Transformers Fall of Cybertron, which came out in like 2012, I think. That one is like, I guess the licensing's good to go. And I have it installed on my Xbox, but it has a little warning sign saying that it's not ready or something because it's in the store. You can find it if you search, but it's not playable yet. And I don't know why what is taking so long, but that's supposed to be available to, I don't know if they're going to throw it in Game Pass when they bring it out, like, or if they're going to put it on the store, but yeah, I don't know.
I wonder if they're not saving things to occupy news cycles. And I say this so in such an amateur way, but I think about like, all right, they did Avowed, dropped that. Indie was a month or so before, so that occupied some news time. They've got South of Midnight coming. They got Doom: The Dark Ages coming. Ninja Gaiden was dropped in as a shadow drop. Later this year, they've got Call of Duty. They've got Ninja Gaiden 4. Is there another big project because they moved Fable? Are they trying to steady release these for news? I would have said that a year ago, but because we haven't gotten that steady drop, I just can't help but wonder, like, what is the actual holdup? And it does frustrate me. Like, truly, it does frustrate me because I see a lot of good third-party games that they bring into Game Pass. A lot of AA goodness has shown up. I think some of the AAAs have started to slow down as since they're the Activision deal, but it is odd. Yo, what up, Fonz Gaming? Good to see you, my friend. Cole gave you a shout out earlier in the show. We were talking about you. But yeah, it like, what is the holdup? I'm ready for a lot of that stuff to come back. I want Xbox and Microsoft proper to sling some of that Activision weight around and get some cool stuff up onto Game Pass and really kind of demand better from some of the other publishers. That's just something I want to see from them.
Yeah.
So it goes. All right, guys, let's do a quick shout out to our patrons real quick, because we did get a new patron this week helping us get to SGF and support the channel with all the StreamYard changes coming in. Shout out to SJ Dub. I think I saw them earlier on. They subscribed to patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass at tier 2. We appreciate them. And let's see, Logan, I think it's your turn to read this week, is it not? You're muted.
I believe so. Yeah.
All right. Don't forget SJ Dub. Go for it.
SJ Dub, was kicking it off. We do shout out our tier 2 and tier 3 patrons. If you guys are interested or wanting to help us get to SGF, if you like the content that we put out this week, a lot of that comes from just having opportunities with PR management to shake hands, get to know them, ask for opportunities to be able to do that content, so that you guys have a better idea of what you can look forward to with content coming up in the future, and just kind of help inform your purchasing decisions. So we love doing that. We love helping people out, and going to things like SGF is a great way, or Summer Games Fest is a great way for us to be able to do that, as well as like the Xbox Showcase and Fan Fest. So patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass always helps us with those kinds of deals. Being able to get there, it's a lot easier for me to get down to LA living in California than it is for Luke. So I'm not too worried about it, but I know Luke has a long trek to get there, and all of the tier 2 and tier 3 people are helping make that dream happen. So thank you to Omen, Jesse Perez, Fado, Aaron G, Nick Bentley, The Scarecrow, Ken Rosling, Fabian Winkler, Regis Stella, the Brony Pirate, Rob Frawley II, Tao Zochi, Nicholas Johnson, Randall Thor 19, African, Game Positive, Jampack Sam, Rick Davis, Matt Valdez, Red Beast, Dano 12, DJ Hero, Brendan Myers, aka The Winter Gamer, Lord Sir Master James Suddy, and Sony's VP of Marketing, Kevin Butler. Thank you all so much for your love, for your support, for making the Discord community as awesome as it is. I love seeing your guys' conversations in there, and I love seeing the content creators that are posting their content in our channel as well too. It's a great shortcut for me to be able to see my friends making their content as well. So thank you, everyone.
Fully agree with that one. Cole, earlier you said Hellblade. I thought of it and I went and looked it up because I knew it was in the news this past week. Hellblade got a mixed reception in terms of, I guess you would say, like, players. I loved it. Some people did, some people didn't. I understand why. I really did understand a lot of the takes there, but they walked away with 11 BAFTA nominations this past week. That's pretty darn impressive. I was shocked at that one. Happy to see it because I know Ninja Theory put a lot of work into that one. Did you enjoy Hellblade? Remind us.
I did. Yeah, I really liked it. I think it was just about the right size of game. It's funny when you say mixed reception, because lately an 8 out of 10 or an 80 or 81 is completely like fully accepted in the social norms today to be a mid game or to be a divisive.
Right.
It's so crazy to see these games that are getting overwhelming 8s and 9s across the review scores, and people are like, yeah, I guess it's just mediocre. It's not really that good. It's really a 6. And I actually take it as a compliment if I was a game developer, that if you get an 8, you're now at the bottom of the great games metrics. Yeah. But anyway, I just had to say that. But the BAFTA Awards, the reason why Hellblade has got so many rewards from BAFTA is because it's a UK specific award show. So you have to just take all the studios that are in the UK, and Ninja Theory is among many greats. So as far as games that came out in 2024 as well. And again, it's an incredibly remarkable game with technology and acting and everything. So that doesn't surprise me that it had so many nominations from their peers.
I loved it. I thought it was incredibly well done. I loved the story told with Senua. I love the visuals. I love the sound design. Logan, is this the one? I feel like we've had this conversation. You did not play this one because of the fear element. Was that right?
No, I didn't jump into Hellblade just because I hadn't finished the first one. So
That's what it was.
I wanted to finish the first one before I jumped into Hellblade 2. So this is still kind of like on my pile of shame. Kind of like Flintlock and Warhammer 2. Like there's most definitely like a pile of games that I'm just like, I promise I'll get back to you. I promise I will make the time. Like Spider-Man 2, Miles Morales. There's so many games that I'm just like, yeah, I need to get back to it. So I haven't actually played Hellblade 2, which is why I kind of defer to your expertise on the actual like aspect of it, being good or bad. But I'm glad to see that. I think I was trolling around on Twitter and saw that for like best ongoing game, Sea of Thieves was up for a BAFTA as well too. It always feels like the BAFTAs tend to favor a lot of the EU companies more so than the Western or Asian markets. So it was always kind of interesting just to kind of see like every single year Sea of Thieves it's kind of like watching the Keelhauled and seeing like best ongoing game going to like No Man's Sky or something. It's you kind of see the between the lines is like what they're trying to say. So I'm glad that Hellblade got some recognition, just as much as I was happy to see Indiana Jones get love at the DICE Awards, considering it was like it was too late for the Keeleys. So that's why I'm looking forward to the PlayStation 5 launch, because I'm really curious to see how that's going to pair. But it's going to be a really tough year to win any awards for games outside of like unless you're a game coming from Take Two at this point. So
did we get a date for the PlayStation version of Hellblade? Is that a thing yet? Like, is that officially a thing? Like, we all kind of like accept it, right?
But I think we know it'll eventually get there, but no, I don't think it's like it and like the Halo and Gears of War are all kind of like on the you can see like in the back when you're at the restaurant and you're looking at the IHOP and you can see your meal on the back counter, like under the heat warmer, you're just waiting for the waitress to go pick it up and bring it over. Like, we know it's coming, but we just don't know when the waitress is going to go over and grab the plate. So yeah,
fair enough. All right, guys, I want to talk about Starfield. Starfield hit the news this past week. I believe Jez did some reporting on it, and they responded to somebody on social media that had said like, hey, we haven't gotten any communication. Where are you guys? It's been around about 6 months since Starfield Shattered Space, which I really did not like, but I really loved the Doom stuff they added. And I like Starfield a lot. However, after Avowed, it does feel a little bit different. But the Bethesda social team put out, quote, "We know you're eager for an update, and we truly appreciate your passion for Starfield. The team has been hard at work, and while we're not ready to share specific details just yet, we have a lot of exciting things planned for the game this year that we can't wait to talk about when the time is right. We're always listening and taking your feedback to heart. Thanks for being a big part of this journey with us," end quote. They've got stuff on the way this year. I feel like we kind of knew that, but kind of didn't, and they have been really quiet. I want to know what feedback they've taken to heart, truly, because there's a lot of greatness in Starfield. But what did you get from the feedback that came through? Logan, start with you on this one. What do you want to see out of the next Bethesda expansion? Does this news encourage you that they are having something this year?
I want them to take one of the one of the planets that they said would be available for modders to like go and do whatever they want with, because they're really invested in the modding community. I want them to take one of those planets and actually like build it up into something. Make it like a full story. You could keep it low key where it's like everything in the expansion or the update is kind of like built around that idea. So that way you wouldn't necessarily like run into it if you're playing through the game naturally, but something comes through like a distress call. You're traveling to your next planet and you hit a distress call and it sends you to this planet that you then have to go and explore, and it turns into I don't know, like a murder mystery or some sort of like trade negotiation, or like something that you would send Jedi to go do, basically, and like actually have like a fun, interesting story built up around that planet in particular. Because at this point, I feel like everything that I've seen from Bethesda with regard to Starfield has either been custom rigs for PC rigs that they've commissioned, or modding community putting out content, and I'm like, bro, this is not the stuff I want to see. Like, you need to go out and hire some of these modders and start having some of this stuff brought to the game proper, because I guarantee you console players aren't diving into the Bethesda store to go digging around for cool mods that make the game better, because there's a ton of, dude, you go to Nexus Mods, there is a ton of games or mods that will make this game amazing, absolutely amazing. Like a 9 out of 9 or 9 out of 10 or 7 out of 10, I think is the joke. And it's make it a perfect game. Cold those. Yeah, it'll make it a perfect game.
Tons of those mods are on console and PC, like built into the creation for free. Most of them, but yeah.
But
I had 30 plus mods in there.
Are you on console at the moment?
I was playing on console for Starfield with mods for a while, and then I moved over to PC, but I was still only using the creation built-in mods. I wasn't using Nexus or Vortex for that because I wanted to make sure everything worked, and I had almost everything exactly how I wanted. But there's a lot that Bethesda should be doing. If Bethesda can't just port the Starfield to PS5 at this point, I think what they need to do is spend. They don't have the resources, unfortunately, because they're working on Elder Scrolls 6. But they need to do a whole Cyberpunk 2.1 situation. They really need to like totally overhaul the game. And I say this fully honest, like fully true, because Cyberpunk was already an incredibly amazing game that just rounded off the rough edges. And I'm sick of people saying, oh, it was such trash at launch. I played it at launch. Game was amazing. What I got when I replayed it last year was just a very clean cut, fully fleshed out cleanup of that game. The game's already amazing. So I think Starfield could do what Cyberpunk did for 2.1 absolutely by wronging the rights and adding a couple of things in there. Their outpost building system is atrocious. It's awful. And I love doing that. I tried so hard. I probably spent, I kid you not, 50 to 100 hours trying to build an amazing outpost with what limited freaking tools. I love Starfield so much, but when you play Fallout 4 and you play Starfield, it's like a 1 to 4 difference. Like there are 4 times more flexibility and choice and building and creativity that you can do in Fallout 4 than you can do with Starfield. But most people don't care about building, but there's things that they need to do with exploration. Like everything you freaking pick up in Starfield should be broken down into something. Why do you let me pick up a stapler and space duct tape and all this stuff, and I can't use it as adhesive or plastics or polymers? It's asinine. I can't even believe they did that. They know what their games do, and they didn't allow it. I'm sorry, that's not a Starfield podcast.
Why pick up a sandwich and put it in your ship? I never understood that. Like,
dude, I mean, you can, but you can eat it. But like, they have. I played over 400 hours of Starfield, and I'm pretty sure that 25% or more of the items that you can pick up in the world have absolutely no monetary value except for a few space credits. You can't break them down. Yeah. You can't drop them into a machine and use them to create a space wall or a space window. I didn't know. I don't know what the heck they were thinking. Starfield's great though. Love it. It's an amazing game. It needs to work.
See, I love Starfield myself, 100 plus hours. But when I thought Shattered Space on paper, curated planet like Logan was talking about, curated missions in this one kind of area, and it just wasn't fun. It didn't feel special. All the encumbrance and frustrations that come with it, very much like you said, Colt, was there. It was like they didn't fix a lot of the other problems. I played a little mini mission they put in for Doom's anniversary. It felt like an actual mission. I found a ship in space. The people have been slaughtered. There was a mystery. Go to this planet, Mars. Figure out what's going on there. Suddenly there's stuff on the wall. There's environmental storytelling that told a very big story there. And like somehow, some way, that was more satisfying in that 1 to 2 hours than the Starfield Shattered Space expansion story. I like playing Starfield. I love the ships. I do like going base to base, taking out stuff. But the story was not what I wanted from it in Shattered Space. It just didn't do what I needed it to.
Yeah.
Logan,
I have, dude. No, it's frustrating. Having seen like the community rally around the building in Fallout 76 and seeing like the social media accounts actually like promote the people that are doing really amazing builds and seeing like the store being supported. It's like looking at that compared to Starfield. Like we had an amazing launch for Starfield. Remember, everyone was like trying to figure out how to make like Millennium Falcons and X-Wings and stuff. And you know, in Starfield, and it's like, yeah, the gummy ship system that they ripped from friggin' Kingdom Hearts was amazing. It was really fun to see all that and to try and balance out that kind of building. That investment was so lackluster when you look at just how little content there was to do out in space. I think the pirate storyline was the best kind of like dogfighting that we got to have in Starfield, and that was like one plot line. And I'm like, dude, that's it. That's not enough. So like, yeah, I really think that what CD Projekt Red did with Cyberpunk was they got the message. The modders were fixing the game. The modders were doing the game justice by making sure, like, if you didn't like this, they went and rebalanced all the talents in Cyberpunk. Like they legit like went through and rebalanced the game. They built out more of the actual like melee weapons, the mantis blades and the nanowire and stuff. Like they did all this work. And what did CD Projekt Red do? They hired them. They hired those people, brought them in-house, and rebuilt Cyberpunk to be better for like a 2.0 launch. And when 2.0 came out, it was great. It was a lot more fun to run through the story again and actually have that balanced thing. Starfield needs that. They need to go out and get some of those people who are on the wings just building mods for the game and bring them in-house and build up that team so that you can continue this legacy. You can't tell me that this is going to be a game that's going to be like a 10-year game that people are going to like grow with and add their content to and not support it on par with what they're doing in the modding community. You have to meet them as well. You have to build the tools out more. You have to add more assets to be able to grow that library. Stop forcing people to make the game good for you. It's like waiting for that day one patch of a game to make it good. You know, I want them to continue to build that world, especially if anyone ever at that studio hopes to make a Starfield 2. They gotta do this. So I'm very hopeful that they will. They saying that they've got like a big update coming has me like invested in coming back to it to see what's going on. But that onboarding system that they have for that new content has to be stellar. It has to be top notch. It has to be no different than when you start off the game and you have like all these different options and all these different leads to be able to go and like just figure out like what plot line do you want to go kick off? Because if they don't, people will get lost. They'll try and they'll get distracted. They'll get bored and then they'll quit.
Yeah.
Fair. Do you guys think that Starfield, this sounds so strange to say given that Starfield's like less than 2 years old, but do you think it's a priority for them given that Elder Scrolls and Avowed and Outer Worlds and so many other RPGs are in queue? Do you think they still believe Starfield is a pillar franchise for them?
I mean, Starfield for Bethesda should be. For Microsoft, I think that's a tough sell because Outer Worlds 2 coming out is going to be really good. I'm amazed that it's actually going to be ready this year. But I mean, we just had Avowed, fantasy Western RPG. Fable's coming out next year, fantasy Western RPG. And now Elder Scrolls is like on the docket. Like there's going to be fatigue for this genre if Xbox isn't too careful. And they need to start coming out with more, you know, like shooters, more space stuff to kind of like feed both of those. We just got the Split Fiction, which is this amazing blend of both genres, and it's clear like there is a dichotomy in like most people's like play styles. Like people either want space or they want fantasy. You know, look at No Man's World or No Man's Sky. Oh god, what's the studio's name?
Hello Games.
Hello Games. Thank you. Started with No Man's Sky, space. What are they moving to? Fantasy. It's like they need to look at like what their studios are producing and make sure that they aren't flooding the market with one type of game. It's the stigma behind every like Xbox game. It's a third person over the shoulder action adventure game where you squeeze between walls. Like you don't want to fall into that.
That's PlayStation.
That's what I'm saying. Like you don't want to have that PlayStation stigma with coming out with too many fantasy Western RPGs.
I see. I got you. Took me a second. Colt, what about you, man? Do they have a focus on Starfield as a pillar franchise?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Starfield was really successful. I can't remember how many players they saw, 11 million or something. So yeah, Starfield did really well, and I think they're going to continue with it. They'll probably put out 2 or 3 DLCs. They'll get the game on PlayStation by the end of 2025. And my prediction is that they're going to just kind of clean up some issues with the game, get the port ready, and then they'll have a new DLC at the end of the year. And so if you're a PlayStation fan, you can buy an Ultimate Edition and get Shattered Space and the new Starborn DLC and get the whole package if you'd like. But yeah, I think they're going to continue and look at that because unfortunately Starfield has such a great foundation that looking at the future, the next Starfield game, it's kind of hard to think they would make a Starfield 2, but now they have a really great jumping off point. And I mean, the sci-fi open world genre is very, very small. There are not a lot of games besides, like you said, No Man's Sky, Elite Dangerous, and then the never coming out Star Citizen. There really aren't a lot of games like that. So I think they're going to continue with it. But the problem with Bethesda is we'll see Elder Scrolls in 27 or 28 and Fallout 5 in 2035 and Starfield Part 2 in 2042. It'll be great.
You have said Elder Scrolls 6 multiple times, and
Yeah,
you have it earlier in your mind, or rather earlier in your words than I have it in my mind. When do you think that game's coming out?
I would not be shocked. My face would not fall off my skull if they had a trailer with some in-engine stuff at Xbox Showcase in 2025. But realistically, realistically, they'd probably do it in 2026. But if they did it this year, and because the reason why I say that is I wouldn't put it past Bethesda saying, here's Elder Scrolls 6, here's what it finally looks like, and you're going to see it next year, and then it actually comes out in 2027. I think that Elder Scrolls 6 is probably, they hope to get it out, or they would wish they could get out in 26 or 27, but they're probably going to be somewhere closer to 27 and hopefully not 2028, because I believe Xbox's next generation kicks off in 2027 at the end of the year, and I would hate to see Elder Scrolls skip like 3 generations. So
everyone's still playing Skyrim. What are you talking about?
Yeah, why not? I mean, they're still selling them.
Okay, so after playing Starfield and then playing Avowed, I much enjoyed the Avowed, I guess you would say, mission structure, open zone versus open world approach than the vast empty of Starfield. I saw Happy Cloud Gamer loved that aspect. I know that was some people really did, but I'm curious what lessons Bethesda takes from Obsidian in terms of storytelling, if any, right? Because, you know, they are 2 separate stories. The other aspect of that is that Todd Howard was involved. He was heavily involved in Indiana Jones, but you know, how involved is he going to be in Elder Scrolls 6? And while you think about that one, big shout out to Godhammer for the $5 Canadian super chat. Thank you for getting us to SGF, my friend. I appreciate you. Says, thanks for the preview on Sniper Elite Resistance. Just bought it. Wouldn't have checked it out without your preview. Hey, man, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you. And that was kind of you to say. Thank you, my friend. So, guys, do we think Todd Howard's heavily involved in Elder Scrolls 6, or are we slowly passing the torch, rather? Logan, start with you on that one.
I don't think Todd's going to get away from making games until he actually puts out like a video and says like, hey, I'm going to be retiring. And I really appreciate everything you guys have all done. I feel like Todd wants to get one more Fallout that can kind of like redeem the franchise for himself. personally. So I imagine like he's probably going to be sticking around for at least another 10, 12 years. Get out another couple games, and then he'll probably decide like he's good. Oh, I know. Like, but yeah, we got to figure something about the game development cycle is really weird. I feel like maybe we need to make that shorter. I don't know. Call me crazy, but yeah, I suspect that Todd's going to be sticking around and be heavily involved for quite a while. Especially given just how much fun he had, or I imagine he probably had with the Fallout TV series with the second season coming out. I imagine that's probably sparking a lot of thoughts and ideas and feelings for Fallout that he would like to throw into a game. So I'm expecting like Elder Scrolls and Fallout as kind of like his last two masterpieces, and then he'll probably bow out.
Cole, what about you? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I can't see Todd sticking around for 10 more years, but he doesn't dive into the development like he used to. So he's a producer and an overseer at this point. Overseer. Oh my gosh, that was a Fallout reference.
Yeah.
I think he's been heavily involved in Elder Scrolls, I would assume, by the way he talked to Lex Friedman a couple years ago. So I would think that he's going to launch Elder Scrolls 6 at the end of the year and then just hang back and produce Fallout on video game and TV stuff. There's really no reason for Todd. I mean, how old is he? He's maybe like in his mid 50s. There's really no reason for him to completely retire, but maybe I'll take that back. Maybe he will stick around for a while. I mean, there's really no reason for him to go anywhere. It's not like he's he's breaking his body in half building video games. Just it's just hard work with the mind, and it's a tiring job. But anyway, I think he's going to be around at least to see Elder Scrolls and Fallout 5 kind of get moving. But Fallout 5's a long time because that's in 10 more years from now. Yeah.
Logan Sleuth said he's 55. So there you go.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. That was a good guess, huh?
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah.
Bravo. All right, gents, let's move on from Starfield. Gears of War collection. This has been making the rounds this past week as it's been rumored that it's been coming to PlayStation. Poor Special Nick, man. This Gears of War collection has been haunting him. Yeah. But the report is that it's going to be coming to PlayStation sans multiplayer. Like it wouldn't launch with multiplayer, whereas it might be multiplayer on Xbox. I have heard different on this one, which is interesting. I've heard that it's going to have co-op and that Horde and multiplayer are kind of a separate suite. I have no clue if that's true. That's a little bit dated at this point, so I don't mind saying it. But they were trying to decouple some of the campaigns from multiplayer, given that E-Day is closer than I think some people are realizing. That's dated stuff on my front. I don't know how real that is, but the idea of a Gears trilogy launching without multiplayer does not bother me if E-Day and its multiplayer suite is around the corner. But it is odd to say. It does feel strange. I can't imagine it would skip one platform, but not another, given that Xbox's whole thing now is about multi-platform strategies. Cole, what was your take on this one?
I think the game's going to come with multiplayer modes. Horde mode, co-op in the campaign. Like one of the rumors was there was no co-op at all. I don't think that's true. The concern was that they would segment or fragment the player base across Gears E-Day, which is supposed to come out at the end of this year or sometime next year. I don't think that matters. You can't release a Gears trilogy remake bundle to PC guys who've never had Gears 2, they've never had Gears 3, and they've never had access to all those multiplayer modes. You cannot give them a half-cocked game that only has the campaigns. You just say, here you go. Here's Gears Legacy on PC and console and then PlayStation 5. Like, how could you do that? Oh, I don't want to fragment the player base when you were available to 500 million people across Steam, PS5 and Xbox consoles. So
right.
I would say this rumor, I don't have anything to say otherwise, but I would say this rumor from a logic standpoint is debunked that is probably going to have all those multiplayer modes. And I would expect a Master Chief Collection style Gears trilogy set
Mhm.
sometime at the end of this year. And I hope it does really well. I won't mess around with it that much. I've played Gears to death, but
Yeah.
those
I'd
old
play it
ones.
on UE5. I'd play it on UE5. Just for the campaigns, I would. I wouldn't do the
Yeah.
multiplayer of the old games, but E-Day.
Well,
Oh man.
the rumor is that only Gears 2 got the UE5 treatment. The Gears 1 is the Unreal Engine 4 or Unreal Engine 3 remaster, just up-resed. And then same, like, texture overhaul. And that's what I heard is Gears 5 is the only one that is in Unreal Engine 5. The rest are just, nicely pathed over like they did with Master Chief Collection and Halo 2. But I don't know if that's true. That's just what I've heard. So we'll just see.
A lot of this is dated info for me, so it's like I don't know either at this point. Logan, what about you, man? When you hear Gears not having multiplayer co-op, do you get your feathers ruffled?
Yeah, I do. Because I feel like there's a lot of folks that, if we're going to be getting E-Day, and E-Day is something that we can anticipate going across to other platforms. Like there is going to be like I don't know, man. I kind of miss the days of like MLG with Gears butted up next to Halo as far as like pro teams working on it and stuff. And there were actually like good tournaments and whatnot around like Gears multiplayer. And I mean, co-op has to be part of Gears. That is just essential to the experience, in my opinion. The fact that they moved it down from 4-player to 3-player for what was it, 4? I think it was 4 that had 3 players.
Hidebusters?
No, one of the games I think had like 3 players that you could go through. I can't remember which one it was, but yeah, it was one of those things where. Like hearing that they weren't doing multiplayer seems odd. Like the servers can't cost that much, and they figured it out with Halo. Like I just don't understand why they wouldn't offer that for Gears as well. If you're going to celebrate all of Gears in this collection with with like the Phoenix and Dom kind of like collection here, like give players the opportunity to learn how to wall bounce and nasher people in the face and stuff. Let us have that kind of experience. It's not going to hurt anyone. It can't cost that much more if you're already investing in the collection. Give them the full experience. Let them have that. You can support it. It's fine. It's all just like they're doing cloud gaming anyway. So what do they care about server usage for games that people want to play? Like now they're offering us the ability to play our own games that are off of Game Pass through Game Pass services. So I can't imagine, unless this is something where Sony was just like, we don't want to have to support the infrastructure. We can do co-op. That's in the game, but anything that's going to be tied to a store or servers for multiplayer, like all of that is just something we're just not going to bother supporting. There's that, like if you want your console war conspiracy theory, there you go. You can have that one. But it's something that I think they ought to throw in there, because it's just going to give players an opportunity to enjoy multiplayer games on consoles that don't have a whole lot of multiplayer games outside of like the free to play battle royales that everyone has. So give them that full experience, man. There's something beautiful about that. It's like having a book and knowing that there's like multiple books in the series and then just skipping out on a couple of them because you didn't want to. Granted, not all those Halo books are good, but you probably could still, do with actually reading them.
So I had a couple like passive thoughts here. One, Gears is not Gears if it doesn't have the option for co-op, because I think a lot of people experience Gears of War that way.
Yeah.
I did it fleeted into my mind that Sony might say, hey, no crossplay, because that was an old Sony thing, and I don't know that really sticks when under scrutiny, but I do kind of I wondered on that
new
front.
Sony dev or new Sony exec, so
right,
not the Jim Ryan era.
No, not at all. And so like it doesn't really hold up under the scrutiny. But the one thing that Colt said, and I've seen this kind of making the rounds, that I don't see happening, I guess you would say, would be Gears of War E-Day anywhere close to Call of Duty launch. I feel like they would split those a few months apart, and just on account of a multiplayer shooter approach. Colt, when you were postulating that we would get Gears later this year, were you thinking close to Call of Duty, or am I kind of old hatting that idea that you don't want two multiplayer shooters near each other?
Well, my opinion is, sorry, Xbox, too bad. This is your problem now. You have so many studios and so many games. You're just gonna have to put them close together. I don't know. I think a month birth is fine for Gears and Call of Duty, but they're two different games. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Call of Duty sells millions of copies to all of the Call of Duty fans and some of the casuals. Gears can sell to Gears fans or new fans. Like, you don't have to. Xbox needs to stop worrying about that, because now they have so many publishers or so many studios in their publishing arm. So put out Gears in August or something. The problem is, when is Outer Worlds 2? When is Grand Theft Auto 6? I mean, these are problems that they're dealing with. Xbox has a different problem now, where they have to schedule out their games instead of saying, when do we finally give our fans the games that they've been waiting for? So just don't put it in December, and put it in November. I don't care. Call of Duty comes out in October or whatever. They've moved it to October or late October. Yeah, just give it at least 3 weeks birth, and that's it. Good thing I'm not running Xbox, because that's what I would do. I would say, let's just make sure we have a 3-week gap between any major releases that are coming out, and then that'd be it.
Why not December?
I don't know. December is a good time to play games, but I feel like consumers have finished their spending after November. And hardcore gamers will buy games whenever. They'll buy them in the middle of the summer, and they'll buy them like right before Christmas. But where all the consumers spend money is, before around Black Friday, and that's it. So I've seen some games that are pretty cool that just didn't do all that well in December. And Indiana Jones could have done much better if it came out a month earlier than it did, in December 8th.
Fair enough.
I'll echo that. If you think about it too, like, a lot of studios tend to take like a week or two off in December, and that is not great when you're trying to like push out patches or deal with bugs. Like, you got everyone on vacation. No one's you've got like support for certain things, but if you're going to throw out like a multiplayer or like something that might require like fixes or emergency maintenance or something like that, like, you do not want to do that in December. That is not the time to be like, you want your single player, everything's like polished, don't want to no concerns about any compatibility issues dropping into December, because after like the 15th of December, everyone in like the dev world just like checks out and they're gone.
Yep.
Fair. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective, so that makes good sense. Let's see here, gents. Logan, you switching gears here. Haha. You got to put out 2 different previews for us this week, Expedition 33 and Atomfall. You put time into both. Videos are up on XEP's channel. They're up on other channels as well. Your most recent one was Atomfall, Expedition 33 earlier in the week. I actually want to start with Atomfall, because in looking at a roundup put together by Pure Xbox, and then hearing the Xbox era guys look at their stuff, and it looks like you were a little bit more down on Atomfall than some of the other people. But when I watched your video, I was like, yeah, Atomfall, I think I can wait on that, given some of the good stuff that's coming. Can you talk to me a little about your experience? And then anybody in chat, if you have questions for Logan and his preview, drop them in there, and we can see if we can answer them as we go.
Yeah. So, okay. So full disclosure, we were in the preview for 3 hours, but I only got to play an hour and 45 minutes of actual gameplay time before we were stopped. So my preview is based purely on a very myopic slice of the game. And when I started, they provided us like a full inventory and like a set of skills that we could choose from with some points to be able to dump stuff into. When you've only got, I thought I was going to have probably a couple hours, but when you've only got like a small amount of time to try and ingest that much of like a world to try and get an understanding, it's really tough to kind of like optimize what you're going to be doing. So that is my caveat to this. the reason I was so much more down, I think, is tied to what my experience was, because my first going into Atomfall, they kick you out at this storm drain and you wander in and you're immediately confronted with hostiles. And some of the preview material that they've been showing us has said like, okay, not everything has to be dealt with a gun or a weapon, you know, so you can kind of avoid combat if you want in different ways. But right out of the gate, like my instinct when I'm running around in a world that is, you know, plagued by people who are hostile, or, you know, creatures that are hostile, have a weapon ready. Even if you're not going to be using it, have a weapon ready. So that was a situation where I went exploring at the beginning, and one of the things that I noticed, not only was the enemy density high for certain areas, granted I was trespassing, so the hostility was there, but the overall AI for the enemies, and I hate to say this because I think it's better, felt like Redfall, where when
that's a damning accusation, my friend.
and that's why I didn't put it in the preview. That's why I didn't put it in the preview. But when I was legit, like when I was approached, like with a first kind of onset of enemies, 3 guys came running at me. They did this weird kind of beeline, you know, when you can tell AI is navigating like a space and they're trying to like work out the most optimal path to get to you. And sometimes that means like weird, awkward angles that they run at, and they just straight 90-degree turn at you. But if you remember like the vampire nests, vampires would like swarm up to you and then they would stop, and then you would like be presented with the opportunity to attack. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I felt when I was playing Atomfall. Like they would run up to you and they'd get ready to actually do like an attack. And then if you attacked, it was great. You got the first swing in. If you didn't get the first swing in and you didn't know there was a kick, then it was a matter of rock'em sock'em robots. Like whose head was going to pop up first. And that was like my experience with it. So the combat itself feels very simplistic in that sense, and it feels like it is one of those things where there's not a whole lot of depth. And to speak to that, the devs have said your character wakes up without any kind of like understanding or memory of who they are, which, you know, that's a whole nother like narrative dive that I don't really want to jump into. But at the end of the day, like when I was attacking enemies, it did not feel fantastic. And part of that is because I was very fresh to the system. Had I been more comfortable with like the kick and the understanding from the devs that we got in a QA later on about like how that system is intended to work, my preview might be a little bit different. But I was just hoping that certain things like being able to hide in tall grass. Okay, cool. How do I get an enemy over to me? I don't know. There's not like a whistle. There's not like a beckon. There's not like a lure that you can throw out to draw enemies over into the tall grass to be able to get you. So I don't know if the intent there is you throw something at them, or you have stealth takedowns, but no enemies patrol through the tall grass in the experience that I had. So I was like, well, this skill point that cost me certain stimulants to be able to like spec into is worthless, because I can't draw anyone over to me to be able to quietly take them out. At which point stealth is pointless to me, because as soon as I get out of the grass, they're all going to aggro on me and I have no way of like mitigating this. So I felt a little disappointed given the experience that I've had with games in the past, open world games, and like what my expectation was going into it blindly, compared to what others did. I will say that there is a lot of promise to the game as far as like the characters, the interactions, the options and opportunities. A lot of some of that I didn't want to do in the preview because it was kind of spoilery. But you can do a lot that reminds me of like Outer Worlds, where you have full autonomy with all of the NPCs. So I'm looking forward to like giving that game like a full on chance. And thankfully it's in Game Pass, but I'm not going into this expecting strong combat. I'm going into this expecting strong exploration, in kind of the same way that I think people maybe needed to adjust their expectations of what Indiana Jones was. It wasn't an action game. It was an adventure game. I feel like Atomfall will fall closer in line with that.
You have a question here in chat from Game Seeker, and Game Seeker, I see your question for me. I'll answer that one in just a moment, my friend. He says, is it true that is it true the map in Atomfall has no markers? Maybe we covered that already. I just jumped in. Sorry.
It does have markers, but it doesn't have markers in the way that you would expect. You are given leads, and those leads tell you where to go. But they don't put a marker on the map. What they do have are topographical maps, or that kind of like give you an idea. Like if it tells you to go to the old mine, if you look at the map, you're going to see a thing on the map that looks like a mine. It's not going to tell you like go over there. You can put a marker on there. You can put a waypoint, and that way it kind of helps you when you're running in the world. But it's not going to tell you until you get to that location what that location is called. So like every time I would go explore the world, I would come across Boatyard. And when I opened up the map, it would scribble in a cool little icon of what like a boatyard would look like. And when I got to the mine, it would scribble in a cool little like icon of what the mine was. So the map will fill out as you explore. There's just not going to be a blind follow marker until you reach point B, because then you're going to be more inclined to care less about what the actual dialogue of the lead is and just wait for the marker to tell you where to go.
Nice. Colt, are you looking forward to Atomfall?
Not anymore. Not after what he said. I was. I'm a little bit concerned that it feels like it looks like Sniper Elite, which I loved. I just played Resistance. I just finished it last week. I don't know. I don't know why developers don't mostly copy Fallout, like just kind of rip it off, and we would love it to death. But we'll see. Atomfall is also one of those games that comes in the middle of lots of busy games that we're playing. Like I am, in the middle of what will probably be a 60 to 80 hour playthrough of Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Right.
And in between that or afterward, I'm going to be playing Split Fiction. So people are posting clips of that, and I'm like looking away. I'm like, I don't even want to see what the levels look like. Normally I'm not like that with video games, but I just want to go in completely blind with Split Fiction. There's just too many games. And Atomfall is one of those that's going to be on my list, but I don't know when I'm going to get to it. I typically like that kind of stuff, though.
You said it best, because Sniper Elite Resistance, I previewed that game. I've interviewed that dev team. I love Sniper Elite. Haven't gotten to it because we've been doing so much coverage of so many other things. Logan and I are also in Shadows right now. South of Midnight's around the corner. It's a lot. So right with you. I want to give shout outs and thank yous for the just beyond generous super chats we've got this week. It's been incredible. This one comes from Game Seeker, $5 Canadian super chat. Says you've been bringing in a great line of guests on the show. This is awesome. Ryan Payton incoming. Ryan Payton, of course, the director of Arkham Shadow, my game of the year for 2024. So thank you for the compliment on the guests. We have had a lot of great people, great voices, interviews from Jason Schreier and Kerry Patel to the coverage we've done. Colt joining us today. We got some Iron Lords on the docket for March. Thank you for that. As far as Ryan Payton, you reminded me, so I just messaged him, and we'll see. That was going to happen. Couldn't happen. Timing at some point, but I do want to have Ryan on because he did make my favorite game of last year. And so, yeah, very, very interested in that one. I reached out Game Seeker on your behalf, so we'll see what happens there. And then, of course, just beyond generous, Clutch Kwando with a $50 super chat. He says, nice. Supporting the SGF cause, keep up the great work. I can't thank you enough, man, because it helps so much trying to get there. And then StreamYard changing some of its policies. Very much appreciate the super chat. Your generosity is just very appreciated. So thank you. Thank you. Addy Dotun asking about Laura Fryer. Addy, I feel like, did you ping that one to me on social or in Discord? Because that is on my to reach out list as well. So I will not forget you on that, my friend. They are on my list. It's just crowded windows, but I got you, man. I got you. I'm working on it. All right. Let's see here. Logan, not only did you preview Atomfall, and thank you for answering questions and talking about it here, you also put time into Expedition 33. And this is a game that I see people just absolutely just ravenous for information about. Climbed up on our views pretty quickly. You seemed you seemed much higher on this one. Talk to me about your time for that one. And then anyone in chat that has questions about Expedition 33 for Logan, ping those as well, please.
Expedition 33 was a surprise, man. If anyone's been listening for any amount of time, they know I'm not like huge into like turn-based RPGs. I feel like turn-based slows down the momentum of the game and just really draws it out more than it really ought to be. Personal opinion. I don't disparage anyone who has love for those, because I understand the chess, the 4D chess that you have to play to be able to get those games finished up. But for me, it's not something that I jump into actively. But this was one of those ones that, having played through the preview build that they offered us, I put in more time than the required amount to actually like jump in and play it. Dude, the combat in this game actually feels frenetic. It's fun. Having the active quick time events, which are completely like you can go into the accessibility options and auto complete all of those quick time events if you're not a fan of quick time events too. That was a concern that I'd seen online. It was really fun to go in and have that system built out. Items and skills are simplistic and digestible. The story is compelling. It's out there as far as like, you know, what you're doing, but I love the concept that they've thrown together. A bunch of people like on the verge of turning 33 or have turned 33 are committing their last year of life to go and try and stop this entity, this all omnipotent entity, from killing another generation or another year's worth of people in their society. And watching them deal with the loss of their friends right out the gate, watching them try and struggle with that sense of self-preservation versus total annihilation. Like it's a hard thing. It covers some pretty deep topics, but it is a as French of a game as you could possibly get, with a lot of Western love for comprehension, with a true love letter to old JRPGs from like the early 2000s and stuff. Like I was watching other previews of it. Everyone seemed to come away with the same sense of like, this reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy X, and that was a fantastic game. So I was really happy to see this, and having it be their first game. I was like, man, this is impressive. This is impressive when you have a set team with a true passion for a project and a clear idea of what they want to make with it. So even if you're not like a turn-based person and you're kind of looking at this and thinking, oh, that kind of looks like it has a little more fun, there's depth to it in the combat, but it is a fun turn-based game to jump into.
Colt, Expedition 33 is nestled between Doom the Dark Ages and South of Midnight, but it's got a lot of attention. Do you think people, I mean, it's coming into Game Pass, do you think people are gonna skip one of those three, or are they gonna be able to get to all three? Like South of Midnight, Expedition 33, Doom. That's what I meant. I'm sorry.
Okay.
A weird question.
Yeah, people might skip South of Midnight. South of Midnight's definitely the smaller one, and Claire Expedition's been hailed pretty well, and people are excited about it, even though it's turn-based. We'll see if they stick with it. I don't normally play those type of games all that much, but I'll probably give this one a good shot. I think South of Midnight would be the one that people might miss on. I previewed it. I feel like it could be fairly average. The combat is, I don't like being dropped into a combat arena and say, now it's time to fight. Okay, fighting's over. Now you can walk around and look around. Like, that's how I feel the pacing is with South of Midnight, even though the storytelling would probably be really good. So everyone will be playing Doom.
Yeah. We didn't get to play that. That was when we missed out on, just timing wise. XEP didn't land on that
for
one.
South of Midnight.
Yeah. Because we had a lot of avowed coverage and a lot of the preview coverage, but that one we just didn't get into. So I'm interested in it. Like, to me, that looks fun to me, but that looks like a Luke Lore game. But Expedition 33 does not. So that's probably the one I'm missing out on of them. Logan, are you going to play all three?
I mean, I will probably. I definitely want to give Doom Dark Ages a good opportunity, because as much as I love Doom as like an IP, I am not the guy. Like, I got to the first like real challenge in Doom, and I was like, as soon as that dude kicked my my butt, I was just like, okay, I am I am beyond this. Probably why I don't do Dark Souls games, but I love Doom as just like a theme, like heavy metal. Hell yeah, the game is like so metal. And Dark Ages is like the one that I'm like, oh yeah, it has a shield and a parry. Yes, I am of that world, so I'll give that one a shot. But yeah, dude, South of Midnight. I always want to say South by Midnight.
So do I.
But South of Midnight is beautiful. I think that the themes behind it's another one of those games that I think is designed around telling a story. And I will, if the story is good enough in a game and the music sounds like it's good as well too, I will overlook a lot, because I'm a sucker for stories and that. But I will definitely be giving South of Midnight a shot, just to find out like how that story progresses. And like what the bosses and stuff are kind of like, because they just revealed a new boss and I was like, I don't even want to look at it. I want to go in a little more blind than I already am at the moment for that game. Expedition 33, because I've already played a bit of it, I kind of know what I'm going to be getting into, so that's probably the one that I will hold off on, just because I've already had like a taste of it and I know it's going to be good. It's just one of those, like, okay, just like with Flintlock, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm not going to jump in right now. There's other stuff that I have not gotten experience in that I want to on top of that.
Fair. The counterpoint that we kind of had earlier, were all these Activision Blizzard games not in Game Pass. All three of the ones we're talking about right now in Game Pass. So there is an element, like, there's still that value for it, but a lot of games that are missing also. It's just a weird thing. Like, should we be happy? Should we not? So that's kind of where I'm at on that one. Let's see. Tony in chat asks, did y'all watch the South of Midnight music video they dropped? Goosebumps all over. I have not seen that yet. Have you guys?
I'm going black on that one, because I as much as they've been putting out more content about it, I don't want to know anymore. I'm already going to jump in and experience it. So I already feel like I know too much at this point.
Gotcha. Cold, how about you? Did you see that one?
I didn't watch it. No, I've seen enough South of Midnight. We'll be able to play the game soon.
Yeah. Makes sense. All right, guys. Smaller stuff here, and then we'll get you out of here. Let's see. There was a Nacon Connect 2025. Had no idea this thing was happening. Didn't know anything about it. But coming out of that, there was a new Cthulhu game announced from Frogwares, which we've had on the show. That's a Ukrainian developer, so certainly a heavy bit of struggle in developing their games. But also a new RoboCop game caught attention there. People very high on the previous RoboCop game. I was happy to see this one. It's made by the same people that made the most recent Terminator game, which I enjoyed a lot when it was on PlayStation and Xbox One. I think I 1K'd that, or Platinum did. I can't remember, but I never played the next bit of content from it. Nonetheless, a new RoboCop game. Does that move the needle for either one of you?
Not for me. But then again, I didn't
Look
play
at Colt's
the last
face.
one.
I'm sorry.
I liked RoboCop for a little while. I played like almost half the game, and then I don't know. It's just a walking shooting game. I don't know.
Yeah.
Everybody loved
Thank
it,
you.
but I don't know. I don't like the.
Yeah.
I don't
Dude,
like the movie. And I owned the NES game back in the day, and the NES game was awful. And when I was a kid, like, I didn't enjoy the RoboCop movie. Sorry, people are gonna get mad at me for that. But when people are like, "Oh my gosh, the RoboCop's so awesome," the movie, the game, I'm like, cool. But I mean, I just wasn't interested to play. I paid for the game full price and everything, and I think it's still installed on my Xbox, and I've still never finished it. I've always mean to go back, and when I get in there, I'm like, I don't know.
Fair.
Yeah,
Fair.
see, that's as soon as I saw the RoboCop game, I told Luke when the trailer came out, and I was just like, this just looks like B-rate blah, like it's not going to be that good. And then a lot of people went in and they were like really enjoying it, and I was like, that's surprising because that game looks like it was like a fan made project, which I guess in some ways it is, but yeah, I'm glad that they're making more for folks that enjoy it. It's one of those ones that I will happily just like. I've got the memories of like the dystopian future of RoboCop films in my mind. That's where I live, and I don't know. It's kind of like with the Alien games. Like I have my favorite Alien movies. I have my favorite Predator movies, and sometimes the games just don't really add to that. So I just kind of like let them be for the people that want to be it. Like I will live in my Tron universes in games wherever I can, because they're not making good movies if Jared Leto has anything to say about it. So I'm going to just like live in the world of fans who make better games and stories there, as opposed to RoboCop, where I don't think anyone's looking to, like, you talk about Indiana Jones being a dead franchise. Can we talk about RoboCop being a dead franchise?
But it's not, Logan, because it's getting its second game and people like it.
RoboCop sold really well. Yeah.
Yep. Brothers Grimm is very upset with you, Colt.
I know, I see that. But like I said, I apologize while I said it. Sorry. Like, and if other people like RoboCop, I'm like, awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
You know, some people don't like my favorite things either, but that's all right. But yeah, I mean, that's the funny thing is, if I don't like a game, you'll only hear me talk about it if somebody asks me. Like, why don't you like Final Fantasy? Oh, why don't you like Pokemon? Why haven't you read the Harry Potter books? Why don't you know? There's just some things I don't like that are really super popular. Why don't you like South Park? That would be another one. That's just it's just how I am. But I never jump on a street corner and say, you guys should stop watching or enjoying that because I don't like it. I've never been like that.
I feel like I just went on like a speed dating with Colt here. I just
we learned a lot
about him and his personality.
Why don't you like anime? That would be another one. Okay, you want me to tell you? Okay, here we go. But yeah, I usually don't talk about what I don't like. You won't hear me talk about rhubarb pie unless you ask me.
That's a fair.
There's so many things to enjoy in the world. Like, we're gaming fans. We love media and music. Like, I might make an exception. I might speak out about how I've never listened to the song Bop longer than 4 seconds. But yeah.
Spoiler, you got it all right there. That was it.
Nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have never listened beyond a few seconds. Like, as soon as I know what it is or I see it, it's over. It's gone. But that's just how I am. There's so many games I enjoy. Like, I beat 20 to 30 games every year. And I'm talking about all the games I'm playing, talking about what I'm looking forward to and what's exciting coming out in the games industry. I just don't have time to talk about how I didn't enjoy Baldur's Gate 3. I just have bad taste. Like, I tried. I played it like 3 different times. And I talked to my friend Fonz about it, who loves it. I'm like, I just don't get it. Like, I'm walking, I'm getting into combat. I suck at the combat. I'm waiting for the story. And then I just shut up about it because people love the game. I know it's amazing. Like, I would tell you Baldur's Gate's amazing. I wouldn't tell you it sucks because I didn't like it, because I know it's amazing. Right. And I feel bad that there's certain things that I don't get into, but you just won't hear me talk about what I don't like. Except for this right now. I just did it for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I understand what you mean, though, because in a similar way, and I was thinking about this the other day, when XEP started, I was nervous to tell people some of my favorite games because I loved Crackdown. I know it's flawed.
I did too.
I loved Anthem. I know it's flawed.
Oh,
Anthem, Crackdown,
any 7.
Yeah, any 7
out of 10.
Any 7 out of 10 was my jam. I think I State of Decay and Sea of Thieves, and at the time, Sea of Thieves was not as well fleshed out as it. Yeah. Pirates of the Caribbean had come out. I really think the year 1 update and the Pirates of the Caribbean update nailed it. I don't know what you're pointing to because the logo's in the way.
Oh, okay. It's Jack Sparrow is on Fortnite, right? It's been
nice.
On there.
Pineapple on pizza is amazing.
No, Colt.
Yes,
no, Colt.
Yes, it is.
It's amazing.
It's delicious.
It's, I mean, just tell me you don't like sweet and sour. I mean, that's basically what you get, or salty and sour. It's, yeah.
It's the texture. It's the texture I can't do.
Do you like guacamole? Because guacamole texture is awful, but I love guacamole.
See, it depends on is it chunky or not? How mixed is it?
That's wild. Guacamole is delicious. Now tapioca, on the other hand.
When I was a teenager, the first time it was in a Taco Bell burrito. I had the 7-layer burrito, and I was like, "Oh, that looks good." And it had guacamole in it, and the texture was like I was eating baby food. And I was sitting in Taco Bell, and I started to gag.
Oh no!
But after that, I'm like, I love it. I just had to I didn't know what guacamole was when I was like 16. But anyway, I just saw somebody write that. Tony said, "Why don't you like Hawaiian pizza?"
I just do not.
Wait a minute, Luke. Let me ask you a question. Do you like a Hawaiian burger with like a pineapple ring and then like the Swiss cheese?
That's good.
No, I don't think I like pineapple. Like I can drink, like I can the flavor I can handle, but I think
really
any option I'm not a fan of pineapple. Yeah.
I would think the flavor would be because it's really acidic and sour. The flavor would put people off more than the texture of pineapple.
No. My students. So during COVID, we were obviously virtual teaching, and you gotta pull out the stops to keep a kid to pay attention during that, right? Yeah. I actually had to make a video because I lost a bet with my students of me eating pineapple pizza. I actually had to make that video, send it out. Like it got attention all over. Like these kids shared it to everybody in our area because there's Mr. Lohr eating pineapple pizza. It was the worst. I was like, it was rough. It was rough.
That's terrible. It's so good.
But don't go yelling at people if they want pineapple pizza. And that I've been like that lately. I've seen a lot of people. Somebody asked me, about Shattered Space. Like Mr. Matty Plays was talking about the new update we should have brought this up when we were talking about that. But Mr. Matty Plays was like, I'm not really confident that I'm going to paraphrase him. I'm not really confident that the next DLC will be great. And I'm kind of with him because I've played almost all the DLC from Fallout 4 and like those games. And most of the DLC is not that great. It just keeps you in the world. And that's why I play it. But Shattered Space wasn't very good. I said that I didn't like Shattered Space so much that I just continued to play the game after the update. I was back into Starfield and I just went around and just played the base game. And someone says, "What's so great about the base game that kept you away from Shattered Space?" And I said, "It's the exploration." And what I mean is I love looking at like finding a Goldilocks planet and landing on it and seeing what it looks like, seeing what critters are there or creatures, seeing what resources are there, and looking up the sky and seeing if there's a gas giant on the horizon and stuff. That stuff, like I can do that for hours. And I said, I just love the exploration. Some guy said to me, "What exploration?" And I'm like, what? Why are people the way they are? Why does someone have to say what exploration? Like, dummy, the game is literally exploration, the game. Like everything you do is exploration and discovery. And he's trying to be a smart A, like, what exploration? Me like that game's so boring, the exploration doesn't count. It's like, what exploration? I'm like, I replied to myself, I wonder why the internet is full of people like this. And of course he's like, "Well, I forgot you're an Xbox shill." It's like, oh, okay.
Oh, geez.
But it's just let people enjoy things. I don't understand. There's so many. This isn't like a kumbaya thing. Like, oh, just let people love and hold hands. There's so much gosh dang good games out there. Why are you complaining about one or two games that you never want to play? Why is someone constantly talking about a platform they never want to purchase or play on? And it is a rampant problem across the internet. If I'm in like Avowed, I gave it an Avowed an 8.5 out of 10. I was 10% above the media journalist average. The game is at like an 81, and I gave it an 85. And people are telling me every single day that it's a mid game and that it sucks and that it flopped and that you can't kill NPCs. I'm like, why are you the way you are? You're not playing Avowed. What are you playing right now other than looking at Twitter and being in freaking arse? I don't understand.
They miss out on so many. They're not playing anything. That's the thing, is they aren't playing anything. They're probably sitting somewhere just like doom scrolling in their bedroom. They don't have a game that they're passionate about right now, so they're just grumpy about that, and they're looking for other people to hate on because it's like the people, like the meme of the kids like huddled around a TV enjoying their game, and the other person is screaming at them, "Why are you enjoying it?" And they're just like, shh.
They're just like, they just give a thumbs up, like, gotcha, cool, go away.
Yeah.
And I say this a lot on social media or in my YouTube comments or replies to people, that I'll say, you're miserable. And I say it because I would go to Supreme Court with it. I bet that if somebody stopped by their house and checked them out, they are miserable, because a miserable person does that, because a happy, content, happy gaming fan would never worry about some other thing that they're not enjoying or that they don't even want to bother spending their money on. It's somebody who's miserable. And to be real, it's someone who's having a very serious social or personal problem, and they're lashing out at something that they think is inconsequential, like telling people to stop enjoying something, which is a video game. That's pretty crazy. There should be a whole study on it. I'd love to see it.
There really should. I have found more and more, I am much happier when people are happier around me and enjoying what they like, and I'm not arguing with them about it. Like, cool, rock on. I know I like Crackdown and Avowed and this game and that. Like, cool, let me enjoy it. Don't try and yuck my yum. I'm not going to try and yuck yours. I don't understand those people at all. I don't. I am ashamed of times in my life where I have done that, and I very much tried to grow out of it. Like, very much tried to grow out of it. I'm no, just no thank you.
Call of Duty is a good game.
Last one was amazing. I love the campaign.
Oh, look.
This goes back to, and Logan, I have to tell you, I don't remember if you were with me. This goes back to, I did not like Black Ops 6 multiplayer nearly as much as Modern Warfare 2 and 3. But I did recently tweak a setting that lets me enjoy it far more. It had to do with like bringing in shaders, so I don't know what.
Oh yeah, you were doing the shader streaming, like live streaming shaders and stuff, and it's like
something defaulted to on, and it was ruining my Call of Duty experience. Like, I was miserable. I was lagging every match. I don't know what it was. Something I tweaked it to off, enjoying my Ninja Turtle in there and having a good old time. Logan, we need to finish that battle pass, by the way. But I'm enjoying it more, all because of this little one setting. And I was just like, huh, interesting. Yeah. Interesting. But yeah, Colt, it's a constant back and forth, because we had to make a deal that he would play Rivals with me and I would play Call of Duty with him, because I wasn't into Black Ops 6, but I lived for Modern Warfare 2 and 3. It just caught me at the wrong times. I don't know. So, all right, gents, I feel like that is a great place for us to begin our exit. Colt, you put out a video this week. You've got an incredible YouTube channel. Let people know where they can find you, my friend.
You can find me at Colt Eastwood, one word, on Twitter and YouTube and even TikTok. Sometimes I'll clip parts of videos, or I've made some bespoke 1 minute bangers on TikTok. What a crazy platform that is, and I'm way too old for it. But yeah. Check me out there. And I'm working on a video, hopefully this weekend, a big hardware video. Should be pretty exciting. Nice. I'm excited about that. I wanted to cover it in my last video, but there's just too much, so I just kind of mentioned it. And appreciate people for supporting the Gaming Weekly News thing. It's something that I am obligated myself to do every Thursday night for a Friday morning video. And I'm grateful that people are reaching out and commenting and saying they're enjoying those, because normally I talk about what's coming, and this is stuff that's mostly that we're just hearing about, or news that's breaking. So yeah, can't sit around, got to stay busy, right?
Got to stay busy. Logan, my friend, you are a part of, we counted up the other day. We've done 4 interviews, 2 game reviews, 1 spoiler cast, 2 hardware reviews, 2 previews, all in the last 3 previews, all in the last month or so. We've been busy, man. You've done a lot for XEP. What do you have going for Keelhauled?
Keelhauled's just kind of going with the normal cadence. Still pending word back from the PR team about some interviews with some of the devs to talk about like the recent gear shift that they've had with the studio, as far as like changing up who's kind of like leading the production over there, and some of the commitments they've made to stability as well as cadence and the seasonal flow that they have for their content. The latest update has been doing really, really well. We've seen a lot of engagement over there with the new megalodons that are legit like threats. It's nice to have like legit threats in the game once again, to actually like go fight something and be like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. If this ship comes in, I might have to dip because I'm not going to be able to handle it and this megalodon. So it's been fantastic over there. But because of all the previews and reviews and stuff that we were working on, I actually have not really gotten a whole lot of time on the seas. So, but we are coming up. This is the 7th anniversary of the game, coming up on March 20th. So I am like patiently waiting for the announcements of what they plan to do to kind of showcase the celebration. I imagine they'll probably be doing like a community weekend kind of thing and stuff like that. So that's kind of what's going on with Keelhauled. We're kind of like the hurry up and wait point for the next update for this month and stuff. So that's kind of what's going out there. Honestly, don't know that there's actually going to be too much news for this week's episode.
Gotcha. All right, man. Well, shout out to you. I hope you enjoy Jen being in town. Hope you guys are able to play some games and relax and enjoy one another. So that's awesome. Colt, once again, thank you for joining us, my friend. Everybody else, have a fantastic rest of your week. Take care.